You've seen the Whittakers, the family that shocked the internet, but what about the next generation? Meet Brandon and Luis, Larry Whittaker's grandsons, two young men trying to rise above a lifetime of hardship, family trauma, and the haunting cycle of addiction that has gripped their small Appalachian town for decades. This is their story. The afternoon sun dips behind the blue-gray hills of southern West Virginia. The old Whittaker home sits at the end of a winding dirt road. The same porch that millions of viewers around the world have seen, a porch that has now become an unlikely landmark. Chickens cluck in the distance. The rusted cars out front seem frozen in time. Brandon, 19, leans back in a weathered chair, hands folded, his voice calm but heavy with memory. Beside him sits Luis, 21, quieter, but carrying the same weight in his eyes. They're polite, a little shy, but there's pride in how they speak. They've known struggle their whole lives, and they've learned not to complain. All right. The interviewer says, "Your names are Brandon and Luis. You're BJ's sons, right?" Both nod. "Yeah," Brandon answers. "We're Larry's grandsons." Larry Whittaker. The patriarch. The same man who raised his sons in this tiny pocket of Appalachia, a place untouched by time. To the outside world, Larry is a mystery, a quiet old man in a town people barely knew existed before the cameras came. But to Brandon and Luis, he's more than that. He's family, their protector, their teacher, the only real father figure they ever had. You guys are how old? "I'm 19, Brandon says. "I'm 21. Lush adds. They grew up right here, the same hollow, the same mountains, the same dust. For them, this small corner of West Virginia isn't a viral video. It's home. I grew up right here," Luis says, his tone firm like he's setting the record straight. "My grandma Betty, she raised me. From when I was 3 months old till I was 6 or 7. He pauses, remembering. "Why?" The interviewer asks as Luis looks down. "My mom was in North Carolina. Why did she leave you guys?" He shrugs softly. "I stayed down there till I was about 2. Then she brought me back up here and I stayed with my grandpa. That's why I'm so close with him. That closeness shows in everything they say. Larry isn't just their grandfather. He's their anchor, the man who held the family together when everything else fell apart. What was it like growing up? No dad around?" Luis exhales. "When I saw my mom, she was either getting beat on." "Beat on by your dad?" "Yeah, my stepdad stepped in, though." There's no bitterness in his voice, only acceptance. That's what life has taught them here, to survive quietly, without expecting much from the world. "You guys like living here?" Luis looks off at the mountains. "Not bad," he says. "But I'd like to get away." "Where would you like to go?" "I'm pushing for Indiana right now," he says. "Someplace with more opportunity." Brandon nods. "Yeah, that's what I want too. Just a place where you can work, live decent. I work 2 jobs right now, Hardee's and Pizza Hut. I just got a management job last week." He smiles, proud of that. "A small step forward, but one that means everything." Luis laughs softly. "He's the worker. I ain't got a job right now. I'm getting ready to start back underground, though." "Doing beltline maintenance? Coal mining?" "Yeah," Luis says. "Coal mining. For generations, coal has been the only way out, and the thing that keeps people here. It's dangerous, backbreaking work, but it pays. And around here, it's still seen as a badge of honor. You have kids, Brandon?" He nods. "Yeah, I got 2 and another one on the way." He grins for a moment. "A little boy and a little girl?" "We don't know what the other one is yet." Luis shakes his head. "Not me. No kids. I'm keeping it that way for a while." Both laugh. The kind of laugh that comes from knowing how fast life can harden you. "What's it like growing up here?" Brandon's tone changes. "Drugs are everywhere," he says quietly. "It was fun when I was a kid, until I got older and realized what was really going on." He pauses, looking out at the old gravel driveway. "I remember sitting right there," he says, pointing to the ground. "I was like 4. Just sitting there, playing in the gravel with toy cars. My grandma and them, they'd sit on the porch with coffee and watch us." He smiles, then frowns. "Don't even recognize the house now. It used to look real different 5, 10 years ago. Luis jumps in, remembering a storm. I still remember when that tornado came through. I was sitting on my bike right there, and I looked back and saw a big funnel spinning. His voice grows animated. I ran inside and told my grandpa. He didn't believe me till he walked outside. Then he saw it. It was going behind the mountain. Knocked that big tree down right on Betty's house. He laughs nervously. They was lucky. It fell right in the middle of the house while they were in bed. They both laugh, but beneath it. There's a sense of how fragile life is here, how close disaster always feels. How far did you guys go in school? I made it to 11th grade, Brandon says. Me too. Lisa adds, were there things you wanted to do other than fast food or coal mining? Luis smiles wistfully. Yeah, I wanted to be a nurse or a doctor. Still plan to someday. You still can, the interviewer tells him. He nods. Yeah, maybe Indiana's the ticket. He looks down again. And there's a silence that says more than words, because for kids like Brandon and Luis, the idea of getting out isn't just a dream, it's survival. Then Luis begins to tell the part that most people don't hear. Growing up was rough around 5 or 6, he says. We went to foster care when I was 6. I spent my 7th birthday there. When we got out, we didn't come back up here. We wasn't allowed to see our grandpa in North Carolina. He pauses, takes a breath. My grandpa tried to shoot one of our stepdads. There's a stunned silence, then a faint grin. Larry did this? Luis nods. Yeah, he went there with his little handgun. Good for Larry, the interviewer jokes. Luis chuckles. Yeah, scared him away. He can seem nice, but he can be mean. The two young men laugh, and in that laughter, you can feel how much they love the man who raised them. Larry isn't perfect. But to them, he's a hero. The topic turns darker again. You guys ever get involved with drugs? Brandon shakes his head. I smoke a little weed, he says honestly. But other than that, never touched hard stuff like my mom. Luis agrees. Yeah, I just smoke weed. I'm scared of everything else. But it's everywhere, all your friends, everyone. It's everywhere you turn here. Then his voice softens. My mom, she's always been on it. Started with pills, then meth, then crack. He looks away, blinking hard. That's how it goes. It's a cycle, one generation after another. Pills, then heroin, then meth. Addiction, relapse, prison, poverty. A rhythm of pain that the whole region seems trapped in. I remember when we got out of foster care. Luis says, his tone almost nostalgic. We moved to Helen. It was all good then. We was both on the football team, the Mountaineers. Everything was good for a while. He pauses. Then after 2 years, we started to notice what was going on. The drugs, the fighting. We moved again. To Roddle. That's when it really got bad. She started losing weight, then stopped caring. I left our house when I was 10. The words hang in the air. He says them without emotion. The way someone does after retelling the same pain too many times. Around them, the sounds of crickets rise. The mountains, quiet and steady, seem to listen too. Here in the hills, stories like Brandon and Luce's are common. But what makes theirs stand out isn't tragedy, it's honesty. They don't glamorize it. They don't hide it. They've seen addiction, violence, and poverty up close, and still, they want more. That's the thing about this new generation of Whittakers. They're not trying to be famous. They're trying to be free. Brandon leans forward. I don't talk to people that much, he says. Don't got many friends. Don't see myself as a likable person. The words are quiet, but they hit deep. Because in that single sentence is the story of countless young men from forgotten towns, the kind of boys who grow up tough because they have to. The sky turns orange. Evening settles. Brandon and Luis fall silent for a moment, each lost in his own thoughts, and as the camera lingers on their faces, the faces of the Whittakers, next generation, you can feel both hope and heartbreak intertwined. Their story isn't about fame or pity. It's about two young men who inherited a name and are trying to build a future that looks nothing like their past. The porch lights flicker as dusk gives way to darkness. The air grows cooler. The sound of cicadas hums from the trees. Brandon and Lise sit side by side, quiet now, both staring off into the hills that have shaped their lives. You can feel the weight of it all, the memories, the pain, the longing to leave, and the pull of home that never quite lets go. For Brandon, life has already demanded more of him than most 19-year-olds could handle. 2 kids, 1 more on the way, 2 jobs, and a dream to leave the only place he's ever known. I'm working at Hardee's, he says. And I just got a management job at Pizza Hut. I'm doing that for now. It doesn't sound glamorous, and it isn't, but there's pride in his voice. Because where he comes from, just showing up every day is an act of resilience. Lise nods beside him. He's always been the worker. I'm getting ready to go back underground. Beltline maintenance? Coal mine? Yeah, Lise says, a small grin forming. Coal mine. There's something about that word, coal, that feels sacred here. It's what built this land and what broke it too. It gave generations of families work, but it also left them with black lungs, broken backs, and towns full of ghosts. The Whittakers family, like most around here, has roots deep in that world. Larry Whittaker, the man both brothers call Papa, worked the mines long before cameras found his front porch. He knew what it meant to come home covered in dust, to live paycheck to paycheck, to raise a family on grit and stubborn love. And now, his grandsons carry the same determination, but they dream of something more when asked about their childhood. The memories come flooding in. Lise leans forward, elbows on his knees. It was fun when I was a kid, he says, smiling faintly. We'd sit right there and play in the gravel with toy cars. My grandma and them would drink coffee and watch us. I remember thinking everything was perfect. His face hardens. Then you grow up and start to see what's really going on. The drugs, the fighting, the people getting locked up. It's like it's everywhere. He gestures toward the road. Everywhere you turn. Brandon nods quietly. My mom started with pills, he says softly. Then it turned into meth. Then crack. That's how it goes here. He pauses. I seen my mom high more times than I seen her clean. It's the kind of confession that stops the conversation cold. Not because it's shocking, but because it's heartbreakingly normal here. In places like this, addiction is an exception. It's a pattern. And the Whittaker boys grew up right in the middle of it. Lise recounts the first time he realized his mom was slipping away. We was living in Helen. It was good for a while. We were both on the football team. Things were normal, or felt that way. Then one day it all changed. She started losing weight. Arguing more. Then we moved again, to Roddle. That's when I really knew. He takes a deep breath. She stopped caring. Just, stopped. I left her house when I was 10. The silence that follows is heavy when you grow up in places like these hollers. Childhood doesn't last long. Kids learn to fend for themselves, to read danger in a parent's eyes, to know when to leave. And for Brandon and Lise, leaving came early. We went to foster care when I was 6, Lise says. Spent my 7th birthday there. When we got out, they told us we couldn't see our grandpa. Not allowed? He glances toward the old house. Oh, because my grandpa tried to shoot one of our stepdads. Brandon laughs a little. Good for him, he says under his breath. It's not said out of disrespect, it's pride. Larry was defending his grandsons. In a world where men often vanish, Larry stayed and fought. He can seem nice, Lise says, but he can be mean when he needs to be. That duality, gentle and fierce, defines the Whittakers. They've been mocked, misunderstood, and pitied by the outside world. But those who've met them know their toughness, their loyalty, their refusal to back down. Still, Brandon and Lise know what people say online. They've seen the comments, the videos, the reactions. But for them, the Whittakers aren't a spectacle. They're their blood. I used to sleep in that house, Lise says, pointing. Right there where Betty's TV is now, that used to be another bedroom. That's where I slept when I was little. He laughs, remembering. There wasn't much room, but we made it work. I used to stay right here with my grandpa all the time. Then his voice turned serious. When cars would come down here and mess around, I used to go outside and throw rocks at them. He grins. Eggs, potatoes, sticks, anything I could grab. I just hated seeing people come up here to make fun of them. Brandon bursts out laughing. He really did? One time, he lit a firecracker, stuck something metal in it, and threw it right through a car windshield. Louise laughs too. They were sitting right there in the road, blowing the horn. I threw it and boom. They took off fast. The laughter fills the porch. For a moment, they're not two young men burdened by hardship. They're just boys again, defending their family with mischief and pride. I hated doing that, Lise admits. Messing people's stuff up? But I hated more when people came up here to mess with them. That loyalty runs deep, because for all the world's fascination with the Whittakers, their quirks, their poverty, their inbreeding rumors, people like Brandon and Lise see something different, resilience. All they get is love now, Lise says with a smile. It's nice. Everywhere they go, people come up saying, "Oh my God, I want a photo with you. I can't wait to see the video." He laughs softly. Ray loved it. He was excited. There's warmth in the way they speak about their family, especially Freddie and Ray, two of the most well-known Whittakers. I miss Freddie, Lise says. He used to fish all the time. Always had a can of worms and a fishing pole. Every week when we came up here, he'd want to go behind the chicken pen and fish. He chuckles. He looked like Ray, but was mellow, calmer. Unless you told him Betty wasn't getting no fried chicken, then he'd go off. Brandon laughs. That was his favorite part of the month, fried chicken. Ray, though, Luz continues, shaking his head, Ray was nuts. He used to run off all the time. One time, he got lost for 3 days. Ended up down in Amigo. 3 days? The interviewer asks. Lise nods. Yeah, just walked off and kept walking through the night. He laughs in disbelief. I don't even know how he made it. Then another time, he got bit by a copperhead. The story spills out quickly. He walked down the road, got a shovel, went back and killed the snake. Brought it down here on the shovel, still alive. He kept pointing to his hand. They let him keep the snake for 5 or 6 days. Put it in a little tube for him. Brandon grins. That's Ray for you. Moments like these, bizarre, wild, tender, are what make the Whittakers so unforgettable. Behind the viral fame, there's love. A kind of love that defends, forgives, and endures. But for Brandon and Lise, love alone isn't enough to survive here. What's the hardest part about living down here? The interviewer asks. Lise answers first. Lack of opportunity, he says flatly. Brandon nods. Yeah, less opportunity. You get depressed a lot? Louise looks away. Every day you gotta think, am I gonna pull through today? Make it to the end of the day? Then the weekend comes and drugs are being offered. That's what I'm scared of every day. He swallows hard. I don't want to see myself doing that. I've seen my mom do it too much. I don't want that life. Brandon's voice drops. Same, only thing keeping me here is family. Once my grandpa and Betty are gone, I'm gone from this place. He shakes his head. Ain't nothing left here for me. It's a heartbreaking truth, one that echoes through the mountains of Appalachia. Entire generations trapped in the same loop, poverty, addiction, early death, and the few who make it out feeling guilty for leaving, but despite it all, there's hope. You can hear it when Brandon talks about saving up to leave. When Lise dreams of Indiana and nursing school. When they both talk about protecting their kids from growing up the same way. Brandon glances down at his hands. I worry about my kids, he says quietly. That's my biggest worry. I don't want them to grow up here like I did. For a moment, the silence returns. The sound of night fills the space between their words. Crickets. Wind through the trees. The faint hum of a car miles away. This isn't just another story from the hills. It's a story about legacy, about family, about the fight to break a cycle that feels unbreakable. Because, while the world may know the Whittakers as a symbol of tragedy or curiosity, Brandon and Lise want to show something different. They're proof that out of pain can come Persistence, that even from the hardest soil, something strong can still grow. The Whittaker story isn't over. It's just changing hands. The night hangs still over the hollow. Single bulb glows above the Whittaker porch, dim and yellow, casting soft shadows over Brandon and Louise as they sit side by side. The gravel beneath their feet is cold now. The same gravel they played in as children. They've spent their lives here, between the quiet of the mountains and the noise of struggle, but both know the road. Their walking can fork two ways, toward escape, or toward the same fate they've seen too many times before. Brandon breaks the silence first. He looks down at his hands. Thick from work, the calluses a map of every hour spent trying to make ends meet. I got regrets, he says softly. A lot of them. The interviewer leans forward. What's your biggest regret? Brandon takes a breath. Getting locked up? He doesn't hesitate. The words come easy, maybe because he's said them to himself 1,000 times. What happened? He stares out into the dark, remembering. I was 15, he begins. Got charged with first-degree arson and conspiracy. His voice is calm, almost detached. When I was 16, they wanted to try me as an adult. Both of us, actually. He glances at Lise, who nods silently, but they knocked it down to a misdemeanor. Brandon continues. I got 18 months probation. 6 months in, I failed it. Got locked up again. He pauses. That was the worst part. The porch is quiet. Only the crickets keep talking. I was locked down in a cell 24/7, Brandon says slowly. All I did was stare at the wall. I could come out to shower, and that was it. He shakes his head. It messed me up bad. I didn't talk to nobody. I just thought, what did you think about? The interviewer asks. Brandon smiles sadly. Everything. My mom, my grandpa, my life, what I should have done different. I kept thinking, why didn't I just tell the truth? But I didn't. I took it for somebody else. He looks away, his voice low. That's what I regret most. The truth lingers in the air, raw, unpolished, and real. Looks at his brother with quiet pride. He got out and turned it around, he says. Got a job right away. Brandon nods. Yeah, got a job. Stayed out of trouble. He laughs, half smiling. I wasn't out long, though. 4 or 5 months, and I went right back. The laughter fades as he looks down again. Second time was worse, he says. That's when I really broke. But I learned something too. I learned what I don't want to be. He pauses, breathing out slow. When I turned 18, it came off my record. That was a good feeling. Like I could finally start over. The porch light flickers again, and for a moment, it's hard not to see the symbolism in it, the flicker of hope in a place that too often snuffs it out. Luce turns toward his brother. We've both been through it, he says. But he's stronger now, smarter. He chuckles. Still stubborn, though. Brandon laughs. Yeah, that too. The bond between them is unspoken but powerful. They tease each other like brothers do, but beneath every joke is respect. The kind that comes from surviving the same storm. The conversation turns to life today. What's it like now? Being young and growing up out here? Brandon doesn't hesitate. Ain't much for us, he says. No girls, no jobs, no future really. No girls? He shakes his head. They all left town, or they're on drugs, or they just want money? That's all they like, money. Luis grins. He's right. Then he adds, but I got a girlfriend right now. She's good to me. Brandon laughs. Yeah, he's sticking with her. Luis smiles proudly. She's the one keeping me out of trouble. They laugh again, the sound echoing through the still air. Moments like these remind you they're just kids trying to figure it out, the same as anyone else. Only difference is their world never gave them much to work with. You ever think about leaving? The interviewer asks. Luis nods. Yeah, Indiana, maybe. I just want a fresh start. He pauses. Someplace where I can work. Go to school. Maybe be a nurse. I still think about that. That's my dream. Brandon looks at him and smiles softly. He'll do it. He's smarter than me. Luis shakes his head. Nah, you're the worker. I'm the dreamer. They both laugh. The laughter fades, replaced by the night sounds, the chirping, the creak of the old wooden steps, the hum of faraway trucks on the highway. Then, almost out of nowhere, Luis starts talking about the past again. When we was little, he says, we went to foster care. I spent my 7th birthday there. His tone turned somber. It wasn't bad, just lonely. You're around people, but you feel alone. You miss your family. You don't know what's happening. He takes a breath. When we got out, they told us we couldn't see Papa, not allowed. He shakes his head. All because of what he did. There's a pause. Then Brandon says quietly, he tried to shoot our stepdad. The interviewer looks surprised. Yeah, Luis says, a small grin appearing. He went there with his little handgun. The two brothers laugh. Scared him off. Then Luis adds, more serious, he was just trying to protect us. That's who he is. It's clear that for all their hardships, the Whittakers' grandsons never lost their respect for Larry, the man who raised them when no one else would. He's like a rock, Brandon says. He don't say much, but when he does, you listen. Luis nods. Yeah, Papa's tough. He can be nice, but he's mean when he needs to be. That toughness has been passed down through the generations, maybe the family's greatest inheritance, but not even toughness can keep the pain away. Drugs are killing this place, Luis says, his voice quiet but certain. Everywhere you look, it's there. Every family got somebody on it. Every kid grows up seeing it. He pauses. My mom started with pills. Then it was meth. Then crack. Now she's just gone. The silence that follows is thick. The porch creaks under the shifting weight of memory. I've seen too much, Brandon says finally. People I went to school with, gone. Locked up, dead, some of them overdosed. Some of them just gave up. He leans forward. That's what I don't want for my kids. The conversation drifts toward them, the children who represent a chance at breaking the cycle. Brandon's eyes soften. I got 2, he says. And another one coming. A boy and a girl. He smiles a little. Don't know what the next one is yet. What do you want for them? He doesn't hesitate. Better than this. He looks toward the road. I want them to grow up where they can walk to school, where they don't gotta see people getting high on the porch, where they can just be kids, Liz nods slowly. That's all any of us want. It's simple, but it's everything. The conversation turns to what keeps them here, and what might finally make them leave. The only reason I'm still around, Brandon says, is Papa and Betty. Once they're gone, I'm gone. I ain't staying here, Louise agrees. Same for me. Once they go, this place won't feel like home no more. You can hear the love in their voices, but also the sadness, the knowledge that time is running out. And so is the world they know. The Whittakers' home, for decades a symbol of both resilience and isolation, is fading. The next generation, these 2 young men, are standing at the crossroads of history. Their last name carries weight. Their story carries scars, but their hearts carry hope. Louise breaks the silence again, smiling faintly. You know my favorite memory? He says. Fishing with Freddie. He laughs softly. He always had a can of worms and a fishing pole. Every week he'd want to go down behind the chicken pen. Just sit there and fish. Brandon nods. He was calm. Like Ray, but quieter. Luis grins. Unless he didn't get his fried chicken. Both burst out laughing. They laugh again at the memory of Ray, wild, unpredictable, full of energy. Ray was nuts, Luis says, shaking his head. He used to run off all the time. Got lost once for 3 days. Ended up down in Amigo. He laughs again. Don't even know how he made it. Brandon chuckles. That's Ray for you. Strong as they come. Their laughter fades into smiles. The night grows deeper. But there's light in their eyes now, a mix of nostalgia and pride, because for all their pain, for all their losses, they're still here, still fighting, still trying to build a life. Beyond the hollow, they've learned the hard way that strength doesn't come from what you It comes from what you survived. And for Brandon and Luis, survival has always been the story. The mist clings to the trees, softening the rusted rooftops and fading barns scattered through the valley. The world is quiet again, the kind of stillness that hides both peace and pain. Brandon and Luis stand by the old Whittaker house, the one that raised them, sheltered them, and witnessed every joy and heartbreak of their young lives. This place has a lot of memories, Luis says, his eyes sweeping across the porch. I don't think I got one favorite, but if I had to pick, it'd be fishing with Freddie. He smiles. He'd grab a can of worms in his pole every Saturday. We'd go behind the chicken pen. He'd sit there all day. Brandon nods, remembering. Yeah, Freddie was calm. Ray was the wild one. Got lost once for 3 days, ended up miles away. Still don't know how he did it. They both laugh, but it's a soft laugh, lined with sadness. The stories spill out, Ray chasing cars, Betty fussing in the kitchen, Larry sitting silent in his chair. Ordinary moments from an extraordinary family that somehow became a global phenomenon. But to Brandon and Luis, the Whittakers aren't famous. They're family. They're the people who taught them what loyalty means, what love looks like even when it's rough around the edges, and how to survive when the world forgets you exist. The internet sees them one way, Luis says, but they don't see what we see, how strong they are, how much they've been through, how much they love. Brandon nods. They raised us, fed us, gave us everything they could. He pauses. I just want to make them proud. The words hang in the morning air, pure and honest. Two young men with a famous name, trying to live a quiet life that means something. I'm gonna leave one day, Luis says, his voice steady. Go to Indiana. Start fresh. Maybe go to school. I want to be a nurse. Brandon smiles. I'll follow when I can. I just want my kids to grow up different, safer, happier. For a moment, neither speaks. They just listen to the wind move through the trees, the same wind that's carried every story the Whittakers have lived. The world may remember the Whittakers for how they looked, how they lived, or how strange their lives seemed to outsiders. But the truth, the real story, lives here. In these two young men, Brandon and Luis are not just Larry's grandsons. They're the future of a family that refuses to give up. They are proof that even from the hardest soil, hope can still grow. And as they turn from the porch and walk down the dirt road, the light catches their faces, two sons of Appalachia, carrying their family's name not as a burden, but as a badge of honor. Thank you for watching this video. Click here to watch another video that might interest you.